There we go. All right, so I'm going to get right into it. We've been talking for a little bit here, so I apologize. The recording is going to miss a little bit of what I first talked about, but we're talking about disability insurance and how my son had COVID and why it reminded me of this, okay? The reason I brought it up is because my son's COVID affected his throat. My son's COVID affected his fevers. My son's COVID affected his ability to talk. For a week, he went mute. And I said to myself, if I catch COVID the way my son caught it, where I get the blisters and I'm not able to talk and my mouth is sore and all that stuff, everything shuts down, right? In the world of insurance, you know, you don't need hands, you don't need feet. There's no physical work you got to do, but the only thing you do have to be able to do is communicate with people. I've said this a million times and then never really put two and two together with reference to COVID. But I've always said, I could be a floating head, but as long as I can talk to somebody, I could run a business, right? In this industry, that's what you got to be able to do. You got to be able to talk, you know? So if I had no hands, but Sandra could turn on a Zoom, you know, for me, I could talk, right? If I had no feet, but again, Zoom's there for virtual meetings, I could run a business. As long as I had people in my team that could run illustrations, submit applications, all I need to be able to do is talk to people and we can run the business. And so it got me thinking, you know, does living benefits cover in those types of situations, right? Living benefits is a phenomenal thing to have, right? But let's talk about what living benefits covers and what it doesn't cover. Living benefits cover chronic, critical, and terminal illnesses. Terminal illness, and I'll go in reverse. Terminal illness is, you know, protecting you and giving you access to money in the event that the doctor says, hey, you got less than 12 months left to live, or according to whatever time period the insurance company says. There's certain companies that are 24 months. I want to say American National is 24 months. Most companies are 12 months. Some companies are 6 months, right? Like Primerica, for example, is 6 months terminal. When the doctor declares you have less than 6 months left to live, they give you access to the majority of the money. It's like 80-90% because they know you're going to pass away, right? COVID doesn't fall into that category, right? You really got to be in a bad stage with COVID in order for that piece to happen. But initial stages of COVID, that it doesn't qualify, right? Then you've got chronic illnesses. Chronic illness is essentially long-term care in a nutshell, right? If you're not able to perform what's called acts of daily living, where you can't dress yourself, feed yourself, transfer yourself, you need a nurse to help you do those things. You're getting cognitive disorders like dementia and Alzheimer's, you know what I mean? Those types of things. Well, then living benefits kicks in and starts giving you income. And what you can do with that income essentially is to pay for a nurse to care for you. COVID, again, doesn't fall into that category in the beginning stages, right? If you get to that extremity where you can't get up, you can't walk, number one, you should be in the hospital if you're in that stage, right? You probably, you know, hooked up to an IV, hooked up to a ventilator, if anything. And so, yes, you could then file a living benefit claim. But again, my focus is what do you do in the beginning stages of COVID, right? That would not cover during that beginning stage, right? The third living benefits is critical illnesses and critical injuries. Some companies cover critical injuries. Almost every company that has living benefits covers critical illness, right? Critical illness is what? A list of medical conditions, a list of them. But these are like critical type illnesses. And unfortunately, COVID in its beginning stage is not classified as a critical illness. Critical illnesses are things like cancers, strokes, heart attacks, organ transplants, ALS, you know, organ failure, brain trauma, burns to the body over 40% or more. Those are considered critical illnesses. Critical injuries, and I did actually, I put in a couple injuries in the illness list, so I apologize. But critical injuries are burns, severe burns to the body, you know, brain traumas, things in that nature, right? What companies do we know cover critical injuries? American National and NLG. Now, NLG is very smart with their marketing. They actually consider themselves to have 4 living benefits, right? Because they separate critical illness and critical injury to show the list. American National doesn't. American National considers critical illnesses all together. And if you look at that list, the physical ailments are already there too. The burns and the brain traumas and stuff's all there. So don't think that American National doesn't have it. It does. But those are the only 2 companies that I know that have the actual injury portion in their living benefits. So if you're dealing with COVID in the beginning stage, that wouldn't, none of that stuff qualifies in there. So essentially, in order for living benefits to really become a benefit for someone with COVID, is essentially if the COVID gets to a much more severe stage, right? And so that's kind of what got me thinking, you know, really, we have licenses to help offer solutions to this. We really do, right? We have, and this is for the people that have the health portion. So if you can, do me a favor on the group chat, you know, give me a thumbs up if you can, or give me an I do or whatnot on the group chat section of it. You know, let me know if you have the health portion of your life license. So you're not just life and annuity only, you're life, health, and annuity. The health side is the one that matters with regards to this type of training that we're going to be doing right now. So let me know if you have it. Okay. If you don't have it, I would encourage you to get it. If you don't have it, I would encourage you to get it. Every state has that section completely by itself, that if you take a test and you pass it, you can attach that to your existing license. And now all of a sudden you could be life, health, and annuity. Okay. For those of you that only have the life only, living benefits is still something you can sell. So whenever you come across a client that's looking for long-term care, your solution is a living benefit product. You cannot sell a standalone long-term care, a standalone disability policy, or a standalone health insurance policy. Okay, you cannot without the health section of it there. Okay, so let me see as many cameras as we can, if you can, please. If you can. I'm recording it so I can see my face. But there's Shelly. Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate that. It's good to kind of see somebody. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm training somebody. Irvin, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Tanisha, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, so I used to sell a lot of disability insurance. I came from a company called Northwestern Mutual, and if you research Northwestern Mutual, they've got the #1 training program in the industry. I mean, it's for the last decade, every single year they you know, when Forbes magazine does a stack ranking, Northwestern always comes up as the #1 training institution for the insurance industry. And one of the things that they have a very good niche at is with disability insurance. And so I learned a lot about disability insurance. There's 3 of them. There's 3, right? You have short-term disability, otherwise known as STD, right? Short-term disability. You have long-term disability, LTD, right? And then you have what's called disability business overhead expense, DBOE, okay? We're going to talk about each one of them so that you guys kind of understand. And I'm not going to lie, my advice to every single one of you is to look into some of this stuff for yourself and start to talk to your clientele about it, because this could be a good solution for COVID during its beginning stages, right? So what is disability insurance? Disability insurance is the inability to perform your job, your occupation, because of something that is disabling you, okay? Now, the definition of a disability is very important when it comes to the policy itself. Some insurance policies say, hey, you're unable to perform any occupation, the key word there, any, A-N-Y. They look at your disability and they determine, are you able to perform anything at all? Not your business, not your occupation, not specifically what you're doing, but any occupation at all, right? I'm not a big fan of those types because, for example, let's just say you're talking to a surgeon, right? And the surgeon, they went to school for a number of years to become a surgeon. Their profession is kind of a niche profession. If they develop a disability, like let's say a tremor in their hand, they can't perform surgery any longer. So a disability insurance policy would look at that and say, although you can't perform your occupation, you can still perform other things. You can do any occupation. So unfortunately, at that point, they would actually reduce the amount of disability insurance that they can qualify for, because they would account for what he could do or she could do and reduce the coverage. Does that make sense? Nod your heads if that makes sense. Okay. The other definition is unable to perform your own occupation, OWN, own occupation. Those I'm a big fan of, because that one looks specifically at your occupation, right? So how does that correlate to, let's say, the insurance industry? As I stated earlier, I don't need hands, I don't need feet to run an insurance practice. If I have somebody that could help me get onto a Zoom meeting, I could talk my way through in this industry, right? Sandra says I have a golden tongue. And it's the truth. The most important part of my body with regards to running this industry is my ability to talk to people. 100%, 150%. That's the part about me that is the hardest to duplicate. It's not that it's impossible, but it's the hardest part to duplicate, is my ability to talk to people in this industry, right? So if I had an own occupation disability policy, and let's say I developed COVID, and guess what? I've got the sore throat, I've got the COVID tongue, I can't talk, I got fevers, I can't focus. Guess what? I qualify. I can't perform my own occupation, right? Now, let's say, like my son right now, he's still unable to talk, right? Well, he actually is starting to talk right now, but let's just say he was from 2 days ago, still unable to talk, doesn't have fevers, but he has a sore throat. He's still unable to talk. He still has trouble, eating. If that were me, but I didn't have the fever, right? My son 2 days ago was kind of moving around, having energy, but he just still couldn't talk. If that was me, and I had an any occupation type disability policy, I couldn't file a claim because they would look at my situation and they say, well, listen, you're not able to talk, but you can still do construction. Your hands and feet are just fine, right? You can still do construction. You don't need to talk in order to do construction. So we're gonna give you we're gonna pay you something, but it's gonna be a prorated amount because we have to adjust, what the income is of a 9 to 5 construction worker. We're gonna deduct that amount from the amount that you qualify based on your occupation, right? And if you run an insurance practice full time, hopefully, right, you're making a lot more money than the average 9 to 5 construction worker. So it's less income at the end of the day, right? That's the difference between any occupation versus an own occupation disability policy. Why is this important for you to know? I'm big about the fact-finding meeting, guys. The F&A to me is the meeting of meetings with regards to making a sale. That's where you find the gaps. So when you're talking to your clients and you're prospecting them, or I'm sorry, not prospecting them, when you're talking to your clients and you're doing your fact finders and you're getting their name, their dates of birth, their age, and all that stuff, you're doing their dime analysis, right? You're doing their budget. That's more of a life insurance fact finding. Here's disability insurance fact finding. Mr. Client, do you have a disability insurance policy at your employer? You do. Okay. Do you make the premium payments for that disability policy, or does your employer make the payments for the premium policy, for the policy? Why is that important? Here's why. With all insurance, guys, this applies with life insurance, this also applies. If you make the premium payments to the policy, the claims, the money, if you have to file a claim, is tax-free. Tax-free. But if your employer is making your premium payments for you, the benefits are taxable. A lot of people don't know that, even about life insurance. Even about life insurance. If your employer makes the premium payments to your life insurance policy and you die, your family receives the $100,000, but that money's taxable income. Taxable. Now it's going to get reduced. Disability is the exact same. So when I'm asking disability questions, I'm saying, hey, Mr. Client, honestly, here's my first question. Mr. Client, if you lost your ability to work, what's your next step? Ask yourself, guys, this question right now. For those of you that are, income earners, providing into your household, right? Let me ask you the question. If you lost your ability to earn income right now, meaning you're not retired, right? You still got to, clock in every day, right? If you lost your ability to earn a living, what's your next step today, right now, September, what are we in, September 4th? What would be your next step, right? Like Frank, I don't know if you guys watch Frank on social media. Frank is like a handyman on steroids. That man is always fixing stuff, bro. He puts stuff everywhere and he's always recording it. Like I see his stories, right? And he's building right now he's building a food truck, right? Frank relies on his hands, his feet, his body in order to work. What would be Frank's plan right now? Assuming, I don't know anything about his finances or savings or anything like that, but imagine if he didn't have savings, imagine if he didn't have a disability policy, what would be his next step if he lost his ability to work? Like, holy crap, right? Ask yourself, that's the kind of question I ask my client. I want them to tell me that. Most people tell me, excuse my French when I say this, what they'll say is, I'd be shit out of luck. I don't know what I do. Probably have to, rely on family to help. something in that capacity. Why? Because most people in middle America are one paycheck away from bankruptcy. Most people in America are one paycheck away. They live paycheck to paycheck or paycheck to 5 minutes. And so if they lose their income, holy crap, all hell breaks loose, right? I mean, living benefits doesn't qualify in that world. The condition that they went through has to become much more severe in order for living benefits to kick in, right? I mean, let's look at Frank's Baltier's occupation. He's a handyman. If Frank gets into a car accident, heaven forbid, and breaks both his legs, he can't be a handyman. That's not even a medical condition. That's not even COVID. That's he broke his legs. He's going through rehab. He can't work. He can't drive. He can't, you know what I'm saying? He can't stand up and do the job that he needs to do. That's a disability. Living benefits doesn't kick in for that. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, Bubba? You want the spray? Bring it to me. I'll do it to you right now. My son's asking for the chloroseptic spray. Come on. I got you. You feel better today? Yeah, good. You got oatmeal? Good. One spray or two? One? Okay, open up. Ready? Sorry. Habit. I can't even habit. Sorry. All right. Anyhow, so this is so that when I start my conversations with disability insurance, I ask them that question, Mr. Client, if something happened to you physically or medically, and you lost your ability to earn a living, you lost your ability to go into work for an extended period of time, whether it's 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, what would be your next step? Most people tell you, I'm not ready for that. Okay. The people that are, working 9 to 5s that have benefits, sometimes they have disability insurance policies. Perfect, great. Who makes those premium payments to that disability policy? Is it you? Does it come out of your paycheck, or does your employer offer to you at no cost? Right? Great. Is there any way you can gain a copy of that policy? And let me tell you why. Most employer plans, take notes on this, guys, so you understand. Most employer plans will only cover 60 to 65% of your income. 60 to 65% of your income. If that income that you're generating is taxable, now you're not really bringing home 60 to 65%. You're probably bringing home about 45% to 50%. It's taxable to you if what? The employer makes the premium payments instead of you. So, Mr. Client, can you financially support your household on 50% of your income? No, you can't. Mr. Client, do you know that the legal amount of disability coverage that you can have is about 85% of your income? There's a shortage. There's a gap right now. I'm glad your employer is offering you disability coverage, but there's a gap. Mr. Client, if I could increase that coverage from 50% that's currently covered to 85%, would it be a little bit easier if you had to go through a 15% shortage versus a 50% shortage in the event of a disability? It would be, wouldn't it? It would be. Mr. Client, if I have a solution to that, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not interested, 10 being interested, if I had a solution that's cost effective, what's your level of interest in something like this? Right? Boom, boom. Now, any questions thus far? Does anybody have any questions thus far? I want to answer any questions if there are any questions. Everybody's good? Everybody's capturing all this?
So,
okay.
Hey, Tony.
Yes, go for it.
So back to your example of myself. So that wouldn't cover like that critical injury part. Like, let's say you broke your legs, wouldn't cover the critical injury part or anything like that, or is that different?
It's not considered critical injury. Critical injury
gotcha.
is like brain traumas. Like, again, it's got to be a critical. Like, your life is in critical need. Breaking your legs is just breaking your legs. Right? Like, you're out of commission for a while, but you're not in, your body's not in your life, right? Again, because it's part of life insurance, your life is not in critical need. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah, Frank, I'll be honest with you, and I don't know your financial situation, but I do know your occupation. You are a perfect 100% candidate to disability insurance because, I break a leg, I can still work. There's no disability claim for me, right? They would look at, because disability insurance looks at your occupation and rates it based on your occupation. But because you, my friend, you drive around, you're on ladders all the time, you rely on your body and your physical ability to do your job. Disability insurance is 100% much more needed for you than anything else. You're 100% a candidate for it.
Question.
So, yes.
Does the insurance company have a list of what's covered and what's not on the site?
Yes, of course. And that's why I say for living benefits, you got to look at the list of things that are covered, right? Disability insurance, the exact same thing. What are the things that are covered? But yeah, they do. I just want to be very clear on the difference between disability insurance and living benefits. In my opinion, they're both very, very important. And let me give you an example. And let me see who's on here right now.
Can I ask a question also?
Yeah, go for it.
So like for me, I'm also like a caretaker for my daughter, and like being a caretaker, you wear out faster. So like how would that work?
Is that what you do as an occupation? Is that what you do as an occupation?
Well, I do insurance, and then I take care of my daughter and I get paid.
Well, I know you do insurance, right? That's why we're here. But
Right.
The caretaker part, are you a licensed caretaker? Do you generate an income from that?
Do you generate an income? It's not tax.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you generate that income?
Like a home health care agency pays me, but I don't even think I have disability through them.
So then, yes. Well, wait a minute. How is it non-taxable? That's the part that's confusing to me.
She's on like a Medicaid waiver that like it doesn't tax me on it.
Gotcha. So the home health agency pays you. Did you get licenses and certifications to do it first with the agency?
I used to, but it's now like a different type of program.
So here's what I would do. I mean, you seem to have kind of a specific type situation. Here's what I would do. I would 100% incorporate yourself. And if there's any kind of certification requirements, I would 100% get them. Because yes, right now, if you were physically unable to take care of your daughter, then I'm assuming you would probably have to find somebody else to take care of her while you're recovering, in which case that person would start to receive that income that you're currently getting, which would cause for a claim on your end. Does that make sense?
Right. And then I guess my other question for people is if they have it through the, okay, so actually you answered that earlier. Never mind.
Okay. Tanisha, I think I saw your emoji of hand up. What you got?
Yeah, so I have a quick question, just clarifying employer paying versus employee paying. So what about the situations where the employer is, like it's a half and half, so maybe the employer is covering a certain percentage of the policy.
Yeah, so just so you know, for disability and for life insurance, it's either all or none. You're never going to find, I've never, in my 60, I've never found a policy where it was prorated like that. Health insurance is different. Health insurance employers will say, hey, I'm going to pay 50% of it and you cover the other 50%, but that's different. That's not disability, and that's not life insurance. So I've never come across that. If it did exist, I would assume that again, it would be a prorated type of a tax implication. I would just take that assumption. Okay, but I've never seen that. Karen, I saw your emoji. You got a question?
I do. So you had mentioned earlier, you made a statement about most employer plans will cover like 60 to 65% of your income. And then you said something after that about maybe it being taxable, so that you're only receiving.
Yeah. So let me explain.
Can you repeat that?
Most group disability policies, most group disability, the biggest one out there right now is a company called Unum, Unum, right? Will only cover about 60 to 65% of your income. So let's just say you make 100 grand, they're only going to be responsible for 60 to 65,000. However, if the premium payments to that policy are being paid by the employer, right? So ABC Corporation that I'm working for, let's say I'm the employee, right? I make 100 grand, I'm employed by ABC Corporation. If ABC Corporation is paying that premium payment and I go on disability, then that 60 to 65% is taxable to me. So now what does that really mean? That means I'm probably really only going to get about 50% of that, not 60% or 65. I'm only going to get 50 because that difference is what is being used to pay for the taxes on that money. Does that make sense, Karen?
Oh, yeah. So it's kind of like FMLA, basically, a little bit.
FML, what is that?
Family medical leave. It's like, they use that for when you're going on maternity leave. You have to
Kind
wait
of.
a couple weeks
Yeah.
to get paid, and then you only get a certain percentage of it.
Kind of, yes, correct. That's a different type of coverage, but yes, you're in the same lines of it. Okay. Jimmy, can felons get disability insurance? Can felons get, I don't know the answer to that one, Jimmy. I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I would ask you to do, Jimmy, if you don't mind. Mutual of Omaha, which is in our platform, and One America, both of those offer disability plans. Mutual of Omaha right now is companies we're currently contracted with. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework if you can. Contact Mutual of Omaha, speak to their disability side and ask them that question and see what they say. I'm not 100% certain on that answer because for life insurance, felons are like an automatic no-go. I don't know how they look at it from a disability side. I don't know. Nice job. You want more? No? You can leave it there. You're welcome, Bubba. Love you. So, getting. Does anybody have any other questions so I can get back to it with a couple other things I want to give you on this? Karen, I see your emoji hand is still up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just put it back up. Yeah. So, excuse my ignorance, but for the disability insurance, is that a total separate policy aside from the life insurance, or is that something
Yes.
that you add on as a rider?
No. It's a total separate policy. Just like there's health insurance, there's life insurance, there's disability insurance. A total separate policy has a completely different type of underwriting that is done. And it's an amazing thing to talk about and cross-sell whenever you build that relationship with your clients. Here's the reality. I'll tell you this. You have a higher likelihood of selling DI than you do life. Because life insurance, well, I apologize. No, it kind of depends. I don't want to say it that way. I take that statement back. Some people look at it and they go, "Oh, nothing's ever going to happen to me. I don't need disability insurance." Right? That's why people will purchase life insurance sometimes more than they will disability, because they know from a life insurance standpoint, there's going to be a day that they pass away. Right? With disability, you're going to get those people that are like, "Oh, nothing's ever going to happen to me," kind of stuff. However, I will tell you this: there's a higher likelihood that that something will happen to you from a disabling standpoint than there is from a passing away prematurely standpoint. There's a much higher likelihood between 30 and 60 years of age that something will happen to you that'll disable you before something happens to you and you pass away prematurely. So those kinds of facts are important, right? Couple of other things you want to know about disability insurance. They're underwritten completely different than life insurance. Life insurance looks at your mortality and probability of passing away. Disability insurance looks at your occupation is a factor. Your occupation is a factor, and the probability of you becoming disabled to where you can't perform your occupation. So certain occupations have a higher risk classification. For example, a receptionist has very low risk of being unable to perform their job, right? Because they don't have to use their physical body and they're not, you know what I'm saying? Whereas a construction worker, there's a lot more underwriting that goes with that because they have to look at other physical parts of the body and classify them as a disabling type situation. So the same example I just gave you. If I broke my leg, I could still work. That's not a DI. It's not a disability insurance claim. But if I broke my leg and I'm a construction worker, I have a claim, right? That type of thing. The other thing that they look at is the risk factor. For example, police officers are high risk DI. Why? Because they have guns that get pointed at them, right? They have knives pointed at them. They're a very high risk occupation, right? Firefighters, that's high DI. So the occupation, so that you know, is something that's going to be taken into consideration when it comes to the approval of your disability policy. Females' disability policies cost a lot more than males. I don't want to say a lot more, but it costs more than males, which is reversed in life insurance. In life insurance, right? This life insurance is cheaper for females than it is for men. Why? Because men have a higher probability of passing away faster than women, right? But in disability, it's different. Women have a higher probability of making a disability claim than men. Anybody know why? I'm curious to see if anybody knows exactly why.
Pregnancy.
There it is. Good job, Tanisha. Women bear children. Women have a higher probability of going through a disability claim. Women statistically also go to the doctors a lot more often than men do. I think that's because men are hard-headed, or men are just afraid to face their mortality. But nonetheless, women will go to the doctor a lot more frequently for issues where men will be like, nah, I'm good. I'll just walk it off, right? It's almost their pride kind of kicking in. So disability for women costs more. So their occupation gets taken into consideration, right? The gender gets taken into consideration. It does as well for life insurance, but I just need you to know the differences, right? And then your income is important. Right. So you need to know that one of the things you want to collect from your client if you take an application is a W-2 statement if they get paid W-2, or tax returns if they get paid 1099. Because you need to be able to show the insurance company how much income they're making, because that's how they figure out what percentage of disability insurance the person can have. That's important. You need that information. Now, for a 1099, this is a negative to 1099 people, just so you know. It's about what is your adjusted gross income. So it's not the total coming in, right? It's how much is left over after your business expenses. Once you pay your business expenses, this left over, this is how much, this is what we can put disability insurance on. But what's the solution for this piece? This piece right here was your business expense, right? Let me actually do it on the board, because this is important to know. And I'm not going to lie, I am now talking directly to each and every one of you. And if you think I have a bias, I 100% do have a bias, because I'm literally going through this right now. This is why I'm training on this right now. Let's just say you're making, where in the world is my other? There it is. Let's just say you're making 100,000 a year, right? And on your taxes, $30K is your adjusted gross income, AGI. 70K is your business expenses, right? So when you get your 1099 from all your insurance companies, everything you sell, whatever, all totals up to 100 grand. But then you've got your cell phone bill, then you've got your mileage expense. Then you've got your assistants that you're paying. Then you've got your technology expenses. Then you've got, then you've got your gas, right? You've got your insurances that you're paying for. You've got your meals. You've got your, office supplies. All of those business expenses are 70K worth. Technically speaking, on your tax returns, you should only have to pay taxes on this, because all of this is a tax deduction. Disability insurance would only cover for this cap, for this 30. This is not considered income to your household. That's business expenses. So how do you get this also covered, right? It's called a business disability overhead expense. That's a different insurance policy. That's for people that make a 1099 income, right? That's for all of you guys. This policy, which is, again, it's a second insurance policy. This policy covers a portion of these expenses. Because what does it look to cover? It covers the things, the bills that you're going to have every month, whether you work and generate income or you don't work. That's what it looks at, right? So if you have people on salary, that they're on your payroll, they've got to get paid if you're not working, because the business still has to run. If you have promissory notes, if you have notes that are in the name of the business, you have to pay those whether you're working or not, whether you're generating income or not. So disability overhead covers that, right? Your cell phone bill, any reoccurring monthly bills, any business expense that will get sent to you, regardless if you clock in or you don't, is covered by business disability overhead expense insurance. This DI covers your income here. This DI covers this here. That's why business owners really need to look into both of them. Any questions?
You answered my question because I was going to ask you about that because the IRS sees that I'm in poverty level. So that was my question.
Yeah, I know exactly. And this is the main reason why I'm having this type of training with you guys, because I'm not going to lie to you. I think every single one of you guys need to look into some type of DI policy. They're not expensive.
Yeah.
They're not. And I'm going to tell you the two different types. If you guys will let me go an extra 10 more minutes after training, because I'd like to share with you kind of the different types to look at. I encourage every one of you guys to do this. What I just went through this week.
But
Yes.
you need to pull your health license, right? 100%.
If you're gonna be the writing agent, which again, I don't encourage you to be your own writing agent. That again is considered controlled business, and especially for disability, they will look at it a hell of a lot more stringently. But you need to have a health license to be the. I'm sorry.
But to sell it to anybody, right? Not just my own.
Yes.
Let's say to sell it. Yeah, you need a health license, correct? Okay,
That is
cool.
correct. You need a health license in order to be able to sell it. If you don't have it, I encourage you to get it and start offering it to your downlines. Start offering it to your clientele. Right now is the best time to talk about it because COVID-19 is very, very real out there right now. And look, I'm gonna share this with you guys right now. Okay. If you guys know Minor and Nivea Ramos, they're VPs of ours. They live in the Orlando area. They're the ones that are specializing in infinite banking. Their 25-year-old daughter contracted COVID, and so did Minor. That's why you haven't been seeing them around. Okay. Now Minor's recovering quite well. However, Minor's been out of commission now from work for the last 3 weeks. Right? It's not a living benefit claim for his life insurance that he has that has living benefits. It's not a living benefit claim. It's not. It's not because he's already in that recovery phase, but he's been out of work. He's been out of work, guys, now for 3 weeks, going on 4. Right? Now, disability insurance would have 100% kicked in at that point because there's 2 types of disability policies. There's short-term disability and there's long-term disability. Short-term disability has a 2-week waiting period, which means as long as he's out of work for 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, boom, he can start claiming and getting an income on a monthly basis to replace his paycheck. Short-term disability covers to 90 days, right? So short-term DI policies have a 2-week waiting period, and then it covers from the 15th day to the 90th day. Long-term disability covers from the 91st day forward, but long-term disability has a 90-day waiting period. So short-term is what solves that 90-day waiting period. The only thing that the client needs to make sure they have is at least that first 2 weeks worth of savings put away. That's the only thing. It's not like, oh, I got a DI, I'm going to make a claim tomorrow. No, you got 2 weeks that you got to be out of commission before you can file a short-term disability. If Minor would have had something like that, which again, I don't know his finances. I know that we don't ever talk about DI the way that we should. So I'm telling you now that we should talk about it more. Maybe he did great, thankfully take care of that. I don't know. But I know that his living benefits in his life insurance policy has not covered the 3 weeks that he was out. It didn't cover Minor ended up in the hospital on a ventilator and everything, guys. It got pretty serious for him. Thankfully enough, he's on the right track. His daughter, I will tell you, however, 25 years of age, has no pre-existing medical issues. She's in ICU, and she's on a ventilator. And if you guys saw my message yesterday, I don't know if you got it or you didn't, but I'll tell you right now, she needs to get on a machine called an ECMO machine. And there's none available in the state of Florida. The only one available right now that they were able to find is in Pennsylvania. And although their health insurance is willing to cover the medical expenses of getting the treatment done, they're not covering the cost of transport. And she's in such critical care that this isn't a matter of just taking her out of the hospital and then flying her over there. right? This is, they have to transport her in an ambulance with a medical team supervising her the entire way. That's a $30,000 cost. Now, the reason why I communicated this with you guys is because they're on a very tight timetable. They need to get this ASAP in order to be able to save her. I saw yesterday that they set up a GoFundMe account on and so I wanted to rally around everybody. I wanted TKO to rally together as a unit and collectively make a donation. And I've received some donations from people. I would like to do it outside of GoFundMe because people don't know that GoFundMe charges an arm and a freaking leg. So 100% of the money that goes there doesn't go to the actual person that needs it. A good portion of it stays with the GoFundMe corporation. So what I'm asking everybody here to do, if you can, right? No judgment if you can. I'm not that person that's going to hound anybody down. But if you'd like to make a contribution, I don't care if it's $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're willing to make, okay? I'm gonna collect it all using Venmo. Okay, the reason I'm doing it on Venmo, guys, please understand. I don't want to try to accept a bunch of other platforms just because it's going to be hard to track, right? I'd rather it just go to one platform. I don't want it to go into my business account or my personal account. I want to keep it very separate. And I want to be able to collect those donations and make a one-time donation. And I know that Nivea and Minor have a Venmo account, so it's an easy transfer of funds. So if you're willing to make a donation, please do. Okay, I'm going to be making a donation. Just so you guys know, our IMO, UMS, that gave us this amazing opportunity to run our own FMO, is making a donation as well too. I reached out to Marianne, and she very, very happily wants to assist and help. And so that really kind of brought everything to my perspective about why we all need to look into disability insurance. Now, his daughter, again, full disclosure, does have a very valid living benefit claim. She has a very valid living benefit claim. But look how severe her situation had to get in order for living benefits to say, okay, we're kicking in, right? Because she has a living benefit claim under chronic, not under critical. Critical, again, would have been a cancer, a stroke, a heart attack, or something of that nature. It's not, it's COVID. And insurance companies haven't caught up to COVID being considered a critical illness because it's so new. It hasn't caught up to that yet. But she has a very valid claim under chronic illness because she has the inability to dress herself, feed herself. She's on a ventilator, guys. She's I think right now she's in an induced coma. Don't take that word for word, but I believe that's what's going on. It's 25 years of age. No, I mean, I don't know what I would do as a father, as a parent, if I had to go through something like that. So that's why I'm coming to everybody here and I'm saying, guys, we all need to look into disability insurance because COVID is very real. This Delta variant that's out right now is making things a hell of a lot more contagious. I don't know what state you guys are in, but the school system right now is not requiring masks. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you that I was 100% not in favor of my kids having to wear a mask every single day in school. It's one thing to go to the grocery stores for an hour and wear a mask. It's another thing to have a freaking mask on for 6 hours, 7 hours of the day. That thing is uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys ever put those, I'm sure you guys have, but you start breathing in your own hot air, like it becomes uncomfortable. And so I was completely against it, but my son contracted it that way. My son contracted it that way. And although it's not, I've never once, I'm being very honest, I'm not trying to compare my situation to Minor and Nivea's. It's not. They're dealing with a life-threatening situation of COVID. I never once felt like I was dealing with life-threatening situations with my son. But I'm not going to tell you that I wasn't worried out of my freaking mind all this week, making sure that he got proper hydration. Because the one thing I didn't want is my son to end up in the hospital and then them not let me in because of COVID regulations. And then he's there by himself as an 11-year-old having to get IV shots and shit. Like, hell no, there's no way. So for a full week, guys, I've been out of commission. You guys haven't heard about me. You guys haven't nothing. I didn't even do Monday night training. I did very minimal work. I was doing my work at 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. because during the daytime, I was 100% next to my kid, making sure that he was okay. And so I look at all these situations and I say to myself, disability insurance can help a lot of families with the financial burden of having to take time off because of COVID, even if it doesn't become deadly. Living benefits kicks in if it does become a severe situation like Nivea and Minor's daughter. But for my situation, disability insurance would have been what would have kicked in if I would have had it. Not of my son, right? Not of my son, but if I would have had it. And guys, I'm locked in the room with my kid. I'm not out of the woods yet either. I'm God willing. I don't catch it, but I'm locked in the room here with him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're quarantined. So what if I do catch it this next week? Right? What if I do catch it? What if it does hit me the way that it hit my son, where I get the fevers in my throat and my this? I mean, guys, I'm out of commission. I'm out of commission. You know, and I'm not even exaggerating my situation where it's like, hey, I need a ventilator. I'm having breathing issues. No, I'm just saying, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out of commission, just with fevers and chills. And, you know, you guys ever try to focus when you're having a fever? When you had a really bad flu, can you focus? I can't focus if I get that. There's no way. Disability insurance is what can cover that, because I would have the inability to perform my occupation. I would have the inability to do it. And any occupation would have the inability, guys. Any occupation would have the inability to do it. So I encourage everybody here, look into a disability insurance policy for yourself. Look into one. Here's the people that cannot go for disability insurance policy. I'll tell you right now. If you're actively pregnant, you can't. They're going to wait until you're done with your pregnancy. Right? Or I don't know about that 100%. They might put a rider, and they might put an exclusion rider where they'll say, hey, we'll cover anything that has to do with a disability that doesn't have to do with your pregnancy issue, right? If you're active in the military, chances are they won't cover you. But if you're active in the military, you've got coverage to the military, so you're good in that regard, okay? If you're over 65 years of age, you can't get disability insurance because technically you're already in retirement stage and you're probably already generating income. And the reason you can't get disability is because over 65, you automatically qualify for Social Security benefits. So if you're over 65, you can't get DI. DI will only cover you from your working years, 18 until 65 years of age. That's what it'll cover, right? Now, the type of policies that there are, right? We talked about disability business overhead. We know that already, right? What would this require? Again, tax returns, but you also need a balance sheet. You need the client to provide you a balance sheet of what their monthly expenses are so that you can determine what is considered qualifiable coverages versus non-qualifiable coverages, okay? Now, what type of DI policies are there? Let's talk about them real quickly here, okay? So you've got short-term disability, long-term disability. Short-term covers from day 15 to day 90. That means it has a 14-day waiting period, a 2-week waiting period. Long-term disability covers from day 6. Long-term disability covers from day 91 until whatever type of policy you signed up for. There's 2 types of long-term. You have a 5-year plan, and then you have a plan that'll cover you to age 65. A 5-year plan is pretty cool. I like 5-year plans. To be honest with you, that's what I would recommend everybody to do, a 5-year plan. That's what I'm going to probably be looking into, unless if it's only a few dollars more for this plan, I'm going to get this plan. But a 5-year plan does this. It's not 5 years like, oh, I signed up now 2021, so I'm covered from 2021 to 2026. No. What it is, it gives you 5 years of coverage whenever a disability happens from now until 65. So the clock doesn't start. That 5-year clock doesn't count down until you file the claim, right? So the way that essentially works is, I'm 38. Let's say nothing happens to me at all. But then at 48, 10 years from now, I get a claim. I go through a disability, right? The 5-year clock starts then. So I would have disability insurance from 48 to 53, right? The first 10 years, I was just making monthly premium payments, knowing that I had this 5 years worth of reserve income protecting me in the event of a disability. The moment I go through a disability, the 5-year clock starts. If I'm only disabled for 2 years, and then I go back to work, I continue to make my premium payments after I go back to work, and I have 3 years remaining. Does that make sense? This to me is the most attractive one because it's going to be the most cost effective. It will be, right? To age 65 says, hey, you're covered from now until age 65, right? So I'm 38. If heaven forbid I developed a disability, now I'd be covered not for 5 years, but until 65 years of age. That's a lot of time that that they're giving me income, right? Those are the two types of policies that exist. Now the benefit. Any questions before I kind of dig a little bit deeper? Good. Okay. All right. So now the benefit. Now that the way you can design them, you can design a level plan. Right? You make your monthly payment. Let's say your monthly payment is $50 a month. You've got $3,000 a month of income protection if something should happen, right? Or you can get an increasing benefit to make up for what? Cost of living adjustment. It's called COLA, cost of living adjustment. What do we notice, right? Inflation decreases the value of income every year. So you can get a disability policy that says, hey, listen, protect my income like that. Right? Protect my income like that. So it might be 3,000 now, but next year I want it to be 3,100. And the year after that, 3,200. Why? Because I want to keep up with the cost of living. I know that I'm going to be making more money every year. I know that cost of goods is going to cost more every year. So I need you to increase with what's called the COLA index. Cost of living adjustment index is basically inflation protection. Something like this won't cost $50 a month. It'll probably cost somewhere around $85 to $90 a month. So there's a higher premium payment for that type of benefit, right? Because they're increasing your benefits along the way. This is almost like selling an annual renewable term policy, right? If you think about it, right? The benefit goes up, so does the premium cost. Does that make sense? So I apologize. Annual renewal, the benefit doesn't go up, but the premium goes up. This one, the benefit goes up and the premium goes up. Now, if you want something that the benefit goes up, but the price stays level, now you're paying more money for that. Now you're paying, instead of 80, 85, you're probably paying 150 for it a month. Here's my advice. Run some numbers on yourself. Run some numbers on yourself. The company you probably want to call right now, I would tell you, again, is Mutual of Omaha. And I'm looking into a company this week. I believe it's called One America. One America is the other company that I'm going to be looking into. Right. But for you as a 1099 income earner, now, mind you, you can't just say, I want disability insurance and be an insurance agent that doesn't collect an income. So if you're a brand new agent, I apologize. You can't get DI under your insurance license. You can get DI under your occupation, whatever you do for a living, right? But you've got to actually be showing that you're generating an income in the insurance industry, whatever industry you're working in, right? It's got to be declarable income, not cash under the table, nothing like that, right? But look into it. Call up, Mutual of Omaha, talk to the disability department. I would look into short-term disability 100%, because that's what COVID is doing right now. It's knocking people out for 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, right? That's what the majority of people are going through. And then a smaller portion of people are going through the severity that minor Nivea's daughter is going through, right? But that short-term, in my opinion, is going to be the most important one, right? And then attach a long-term policy as well to it and have them quote it. Say, hey, listen, give me a 5-year quote. Give me a 5-year quote. Give me a policy that protects me until 65, right? And give me a 5-year quote with cost of living adjustment, and see which one makes sense. Which one makes sense for you to afford? I'm not going to tell you that they're cheap. I'm not going to tell you that they're expensive. Everybody's going to be different. The younger you are, the cheaper it costs. The older it is, the more it costs. Females, if you have pre-existing conditions, expect that you might have some exclusion riders. Like, for example, if you had surgery on an arm one time or surgery on a back, the way they underwrite this is very different. They're not gonna like for example, for life insurance, they want to see cancers. They want to see, that's what they look for, right? Cancer, strokes, heart attacks, and the mortality of it, right? Disability insurance, like life insurance, they could decline you. They could say, no, we're not. Like if someone has cancer and they just had it last year, life insurance is going to say, no, we're not going to approve you until 2 more years pass by. There's a waiting period, right? Disability policy will approve you, but they'll exclude anything that has to do with cancer. So that's what you'll see more in disability policies, that they'll say, hey, listen, we're going to approve you, but we're not going to protect you in anything in regards to this, because this is a pre-existing condition that you've had. Like I had a couple clients, I had a couple athletes actually that had some lower back injuries, right? If you have access to the athletic market, that's DI is huge. Surgeons, huge. Dentists, huge. I mean, these guys, they want as much disability insurance as they can possibly grab hold of for if they're athletes or they're doctors. I mean, I used to work in that market like crazy. Surgeons, oh, they want as much as they possibly can afford, right? But athletes, I had a couple athletes, I had a couple lower back injuries. So I was able to get them disability insurance, but there was an exclusion rider that nothing at all would be covered if the disability was because of this lower back injury. And the rider will say, we won't cover anything that covers, you know, what do they call the, what do they call these bones? Like the L1, the L2s, I think is how they call them, right? Everyone has like a letter and a number as a name. They'll be like, we won't cover anything that has to do with L5, L6. But if it's L7, we got you, right? Like it's that kind of stuff. But that's what you're going to find with disability policies. That's what you're going to find with them. My advice, and again, I apologize for going over on time, but this is something that's literally happening to me as we speak. Okay, look into getting at least, if you got a tight budget, at least get a short-term disability. At least get a short-term disability policy. You don't even have to get it to the maximum amount of your income. You could say, hey, listen, I know I qualify for $5 grand or $3 grand, but just give me at least 1,500. Get something that you can afford, because if you're out of commission because of this issue of COVID, all you have to do is go out of income for 2 weeks before you can start claiming income and start generating some type of income into your household. Living benefits does not kick in for that type of situation. Living benefits kicks in if, heaven forbid, the COVID becomes a severe situation where you're now hospitalized on a ventilator. But while you're at home trying to recover, dealing with the pain, dealing with the fevers, dealing with the aches and pain, dealing with the weakness, the fatigue, the sore throat, all that stuff, COVID tongue, whatever it is, living benefits isn't kicked in. It's not. It's not. And the biggest worry right now with this whole issue with COVID is the fact that they don't have treatment for it. I called my kid's hospital, I called my kid's doctor at least 6 times in frustration. There's no like, oh, let me prescribe him this antibiotic. You know, there's no, oh, there's over-the-counter pain medicine, right? There's vitamins that you gotta buy and a crap ton of hydration. And that doesn't matter if you're young like my son or you're older like me. That's all they can prescribe. That's all they can tell you. Hydrate yourself, keep yourself hydrated, dope up on vitamins like crazy, and take some local painkillers. Write it out. That's all you can do. Evelyn, you got a question? I see your emoji hand up.
So does the premium have to be paid while on a disability
No.
claim? No.
While you're on claim, there's no payments. Okay. Guys, by the way, that also applies to life insurance. If you file a living benefit claim while you're on claim, there's no premium payments that you're making. Now, life insurance has a rider called Waiver of Premium. Okay, that's a disability rider, but don't confuse it. What Waiver of Premium does is it says if you're disabled for more than 6 months, the premium payments that you're making to this insurance policy are waived. The insurance company will make the payments for you. They're not going to give you income. They're just not going to require you to make your monthly premium payment, but your disability has to be for 6 months. That's not disability income, because disability insurance pays you income to pay your bills, your utility bills, your house bills, your living expenses. You see what I'm saying? That's what it does. Waiver of Premium, which is a disability rider on a life insurance policy, just waives the premium payments that you're supposed to be making on your life insurance.
Aaliyah, Vander, you want pizza?
Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a quick question for you, Tony.
Yes, ma'am.
So how does it work? So somebody say they do contract COVID, they are out of commission for, 2 weeks, starting into that 3 weeks. What do they have to provide to even, because a lot of people may come get sick with COVID, but never have to go to a doctor, but yet they're down. Like they, you know what I'm saying? They test positive, but like you said, they just have to sit at home. So what do they have to show or prove in order to be able to take advantage of the disability if it's something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So yes, what they have to do essentially is they have to go to a doctor. The doctor has to physically examine them. There has to be some medical record of it, right? And now it's as simple as going into a walk-in clinic, right? Like my son, in order for him to go back to school next week, he has to go to a clinic and get an actual COVID test, an in-house COVID exam. I did 2 of them on him, by the way. In-house COVID exams. The school board won't count it. He's got to go to a doctor, take a COVID test, and get a doctor's note showing that it's negative for him to be able to go back to school. Same exact thing. If you've got COVID and you want to file a claim because you feel like it's getting worse, you can't focus on work, whatever it is, you go to the doctor. The doctor, has a report. You did your COVID exam. You are negative. Let me look at your throat. You can't talk. You can't tell the doctor. Listen, I'm going to file a disability claim. I need you to write on this report that, you know what I'm saying? I got fever, my throat hurts, like I am unable to work because when I file this claim, the insurance company is going to require me to sign a HIPAA form because they're going to call you and ask you for these medical records in order to get this approved. But yes, you got to go to the doctors and they got to get the records of it. Now, again, the good thing is for short-term disability, there's only a 14-day wait period. So that's not one of those things where it's like, oh, we're waiting. They're not going to wait super long. They've got to honor their commitment of giving you money on the 15th day. So you have to make sure that if you have it and you feel like it's going to get worse, go to the doctor soon. Don't be hard-headed and be like, no, because that 14-day clock doesn't start until the medical record is there. It's not like, hey, doctor, I've had it for 12 days now. Can you document that? Because I only have 2 more days to wait. No. That 14-day clock starts from when you first declare it to the doctor that you have it and that the condition is severe enough that you're going through struggles. It's got to be that kind of stuff. They have to document that 14-day period. That waiting period has to start. That was a good question, by the way. I wouldn't have even remembered to mention that. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes. What companies did you say you can write those policies with?
That I know, I'm sure there's more, but that I know of in our platform, Mutual of Omaha and One America. So what I recommend you do is contact John Countryman on Tuesday. They're not open on Monday. On Tuesday, contact John Countryman and ask him, hey, which companies do we have in our platform to sell disability insurance, short-term and long-term? And they'll give you the recommendations. Have him run you a quote. Have him run you a quote. Remember, it's based on adjusted gross income, not your gross. What's your take home, right? But hey, let them know what your business expense income is as well too. If you're looking to get a business disability overhead, I'm going to be looking into all 3 of them because I have a crap ton of business overhead expenses running the entire FMO. There's at least 4,000 right now a month just in automation expense to run everything between the CRM system, between, when you guys get that text message, welcome new agent, the tracking system, everything. There's at least $4,000 in just that alone. But then I'm also going to be looking into short-term disability. And as long as it's cost effective, I'm even going to grab a long-term disability. My main focus, be honest, is the short-term and the business overhead. Those 2 are my main, have to get type things because, my family needs income to still be coming in if something happens. That's the reality. The overheads need to be covered so that the business can stay open and afloat with you guys. So any other questions? Okay. So here's what I like. I want to know which of you have the health license. Evelyn has it. Karen has it. Not sure who else. Irvin, you got it. Good. If you don't have that health license, but you want to get it, you can go into the pre-licensing tab on our TKO Financial Network website. Okay, if you're not in Illinois, I recommend you subscribe to Excel Testing Solutions and use the discount code. That way it's free for you for 30 days, but do the pre-licensing course on Just Health. Just the health side. Like I don't know what the code is for other states, but for Florida, if you have the 214 license, that's only life and annuity. You don't have health. If you have the 215, it's life, health, and annuity. So if you're a 214 licensed agent, the one that you want to get is called the 240. That's the health only. That means that between 214 and 240 combined is the same thing as having a 215 license. That's the one that you want to get. It's super easy, guys. That one is like a one-day study. Go take the test. You know what I mean? I think it's like 4 chapters. It's not a difficult one that you got to do. You're going to learn about the difference between HMOs, PPOs, EPOs. So you'll learn health insurance. You'll learn what long-term care is. You'll learn what acts of daily living are. You'll learn what disability is, the terminology of all that stuff. I don't believe it's enough to be able to learn the industry. The industry is what I teach you, right? How to use it in the field. But they'll give you the terminology, and then you go take your test. 70%, you could sell health now. You can sell Medicare now. You can sell standalone long-term care, and you can sell DI. I think DI is a great market that right now, because of everything that's happening, we need to be talking to all of our clients about it. Every one of our clients. And how you start that conversation is very simple. Mr. Client, if something happened to you tomorrow and you were unable to go back to work for an extended period of time, what would be your plan? What's your next step? Do you have enough savings put away? Right? Because we've got life insurance protecting your life if you die. We've got living benefits protecting you if your situation becomes critical. But during that intermediate period, what's your plan? And if you don't have a solution, could I provide you a solution if it was a cost-effective one? People on a tight budget, clientele, I'm not talking about agents that are 1099. Your clients that are on a tight budget, short-term disability all day long. At least cover that 90-day period. Because that's what we're noticing with COVID is when people get knocked out the most. The majority of people don't end up in the unfortunate situation of having a ventilator and all that other stuff, right? That's critical type stuff. But a lot of people get knocked out for 3-4 weeks. I mean, number one, the employer doesn't allow you back in because you've got COVID. You, number two, are going through the fevers, the chills, the headaches, the pain, the sort. You're going through all. You can't even focus. You might be out for 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. That's a great short-term disability claim. Unless, again, I want you to do the due diligence. I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm hoping not, but I'm pretty sure that insurance companies haven't negated COVID. I'm pretty sure that they haven't negated, short-term disability has not negated COVID. If you do find a company that says, hey, we're offering disability insurance, but we're not covering COVID for this time period across the board for anybody, let me know about that company, because that's not a company I want to continue to look through. I want to find a company that does accept it and get your clients covered, get yourselves covered. Get yourselves covered. This is the best insurance to your income you could possibly have right now with everything that's going on. Yes, Shelly. If you're
Sorry,
talking,
my dogs
go ahead.
are acting crazy. Do you
You're
know
good.
of any insurance companies that will insure someone who has had COVID?
Yes, no, that exists like crazy. As long as they're negative now and they're back to normal, yes. I've got plenty of people that I've been able to get coverage for that had COVID. Are we talking for disability or are we talking for life?
Both.
For life, I know for sure, yes. For DI, I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, I used to do a decent amount of DI. I
Mhm.
used to do a decent amount. And for whatever reason, I got, clouded or fogged with the old practice company's model of just selling life that I stopped doing it. So I'm getting back into it. So I haven't dug in enough with companies to see if they'll insure from a DI standpoint someone who's had COVID. They might put an exclusion rider. I don't know. But
Yeah,
it's
because
worth
I've been
everybody
looking
investigating.
to get
I'm sorry?
insurance. My nephew was in New Jersey and he had COVID and he was on a respirator, but he's fine now. He's, back up and working. So
Yep.
he's been wanting insurance for his family, and I just didn't think that was possible.
I don't know the answer to it. It's worth a phone call. They might, from a life insurance standpoint, I know he can. And he'll even be able to get living benefits. That's not a problem. I know that for sure. But from a disability standpoint, they might exclude
Right.
another reoccurrence. I'm not 100% certain.
Right. Okay. Got it.
It's
All
worth
right.
looking
Thank
into
you.
though.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys letting me go an extra 30 minutes. This was something that was in my heart. It was important for me to talk to you guys about. I think it's worth everybody going back through their existing clientele and having that conversation with them. I think it's worth all of your clients moving forward. You have that conversation with them. And because you guys are, here with me and we're working together, we're building a relationship. I think it's very important that you guys look into a plan yourself. But please do me a favor. I can't stop you from doing this if you choose to do this, but I'm just asking you because I know this industry well enough and I know how stringent they can be. Do not try to write your own policy. Don't try to write your own policy. I'm going to tell you guys, you're right. They will underwrite it a hell of a lot harder because it's considered controlled business. You're not going to get an advance commission on it. You're going to get paid on a monthly as earns basis. And it's pretty hard for you to represent yourself in a time of need. So please allow your uplines to write that piece of business and don't look at it from the commission standpoint. Look at it from the sense of, I need this to protect my family, because you have to ask yourself, how important right now is your paycheck to your family? Because that's your first line of defense. Living benefits is your second line of defense for long-term issues. But for short-term issues, disability insurance is your first line of defense to protect that big asset that you have, which is your ability to earn a living. Have a good one, guys. Be blessed. I'm getting back into the rhythm of things. Okay. If you guys just noticed, like my son just had some oatmeal right now. He asked me for the spray, so he still needs the spray, but he's 1,000 times better than what he was. I'm anticipating that he'll probably be out of school next week as well, but he's a lot more independent. I've moved my office in the house. I mean, literally in my room. So, he's across on that end over here. I'm over here being able to work, but you might find some certain times that I might not be available for certain reasons. So be flexible with me on that. But I want to get 100% back into full gear. And if there's any of you guys here that would like to make a donation to what we're trying to collectively do as an organization to send some money over to Minor and Nivea, send it to me via Venmo. Okay, please. My Venmo info, so that you know, it's T Martinez Kaizen. I'll put it on the chat right here. At T Martinez Kaizen. You'll see a picture of me with Grant Cardone on there. T Martinez Kaizen. If you're asking what the heck Kaizen is, it's the K in TKO, right? The Kaizen organization. T Martinez Kaizen. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $10. Whatever it is that you can give. If you feel it in your heart to give, please give. Don't feel obligated or forced to, but I'd like to try to collect it this weekend so that by Monday I can send a TKO donation. And if you need confirmation, obviously, that it's sent or whatever, I have no problem doing that. I'm probably going to do that regardless. I'm going to blot out everybody's dollar amounts, but I'm going to show that the dollars came in, and I'm going to show a total sum contribution that was sent over to them. I'm trying not to do it on GoFundMe, but if you find it in your heart to do it on GoFundMe, they have a GoFundMe opened up in their Facebook. You can make your contribution there. I'm trying not to do it there because I know that GoFundMe takes close to, I think, 25 to 33% of that money, and they keep it as their own, transaction fee for doing that. And so I want to make sure I can get to them as much as I possibly can. Be enlightened and feel good knowing that our IMO doesn't have to make any kind of a contribution, but she chose to do so the moment I let her know that we had one of our own agents that was going through those types of situations. Jeremiah, if you can send it to me via Venmo. I do have, I'm just being transparent, I have Zelle, I have Cash App, but because there's so many, different incomes coming in from different places right now, it's easier for me to track if everybody just does it on Venmo, so that I don't commingle those dollars with other monies that are coming in from different places. Venmo would be the very best. If you can't set up a Venmo for whatever reason, then I will do a Zelle. Don't Zelle it to my cell phone. My cell phone goes to a different account. Zelle it to my email. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even going to give that out yet. I'd rather you guys all really try to do Venmo if possible and send it over my way. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a blessed day. Let's have a killer month. Bye-bye.